Good morning and welcome. I'm Franklin Drago, and I'll be your worship leader today. During this service, we welcome you set your Zoom screen to speaker view. Common Ground is our celebration of worship of people of many paths who are gathered virtually to share in the responsible search for meaning and truth. Pathways is a warm community, open to anyone who comes with an open mind and kind heart, regardless of ability, age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. If you're visiting with us today, we welcome you to our virtual service. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We would love to hear from you. To send us a note about your visit or to find out more information about Pathways, please send us an email at office@pathways.org. We're so glad you're here. We hope all who join us today find this a safe place to worship. This quarter, we're honoring Safe Haven Mission. It's to end domestic violence. Their mission is to end domestic violence through safety, support, prevention, and social change. Through their outreach, education, support services, and prevention programs, they are making progress to end domestic violence here in Tarrant County. Please visit their site to find out all the ways you can make a difference. And thank you for your pledges and your donations. You can make those pledges through Pathways at our website. Please visit the pathways.org and read the e-newsletter to get more information on Pathways. Next Sunday, Daniel Polk of Intuck, North Texas UU congregation will update us on the Intuck activity and how it relates to Pathways. Today's service is special. We had delegates that went to the UUA General Assembly and represented us. They're here today to bring us an experience of that assembly. All the music that you'll hear today are related to the artists who performed at the UU Assembly. This first song is our opening song.
There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to me. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know.
Progress.
Mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. There are more mountains falling, they will find their way to me. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know.
I will walk through the fire, this I know, this I know. I will walk through the fire, this I know. I will walk through the fire when they find their way to me. I will walk through the fire, this I know, this I know. I will walk through the fire, this I know.
I will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know.
I will rebuild the mountains when they find their way to me.
I will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know.
Our virtual chalice lighting for today will be done by Kimela and Mary. The first part will be read by Kimela.
To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work of telling the truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity, the work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what, the work of creating heaven on earth.
Now here's Mary.
To be a Unitarian Universalist also means we're not alone in the work. We are not alone because of our promises to love one another. We are not alone because we are companions on the journey. We grow ourselves into allies, helping one another get free, because none of us is truly free until we are all free.
And now for a sacred promise. Please read with me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in truth, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. Today, we have a story for all ages. It's an illustrated video, The Parrot and the Eagle.
Today I have a story for you called The Parrot and the Eagles. This story is adapted from the Jataka Tales, a collection of Buddhist stories from India. Once upon a time, a long time ago in an ancient forest, there lived a little green parrot. This parrot loved the forest. She loved the great big trees and the dappled sunshine. She loved her friends, the sloth and the anteater. She loved flying through the forest canopy and looking for yummy fruit in the branches. Sometimes, when she was feeling adventurous, she would even fly up and out of the forest. From there, she could see the river, which ran through the valley like a silk ribbon, and the mountains, which surrounded the forest, their tops disappearing into the clouds. Sturdy goats lived in the mountains, and giant eagles built their homes there. One day, the parrot woke up from a nap and found that her nest was surrounded in smoke. The forest was on fire. Quickly, the parrot flew up very high, and looking down saw that the fire was spreading quickly. Soon it would consume the whole forest. "Oh dear," said a deep voice next to the parrot. "That is very sad." Parrot looked over and saw it was a giant eagle perched on a nearby mountain ledge who had spoken. "It's a shame, really. It was such a nice forest," continued the eagle. "But don't worry, little parrot. You can stay in the mountains. Here you will be safe." "But my friends," said the parrot, "sloth and anteater and all the monkeys and deer, they can't escape. What will happen to them? The eagle shrugged a bit with his large wings. The parrot soared above the forest, fretting as the fire spread, and then she got an idea. She dove down into the river and then flew back up again high, right over the fire. She shook her wings, and a few drops of water fell onto the flames with a hiss. Quickly, she dove back into the river and repeated the process again and again. Dive, splash, fly, hiss. With all this strange action, it caught the attention of some of the other eagles who joined the first eagle on the mountain perch. After watching several rounds of the parrot diving and flying, putting out a little flame here and there, one of the eagles shouted, "That will never work. Can't you see it's useless? Your wings are too small. You should give up." Without slowing down, the parrot shouted back, "I may be small, but we're not small together. Together we can stop the fire. Will you help me?" The eagle shuffled nervously. I mean, sure, it was a nice forest, but it wasn't like they lived there. And all this diving into rivers and flying over flames looked a little dangerous. The mountain ledge was safe. Then one of the eagles dove off the ledge and into the river below. Just like when she caught a fish there, she rose out of the river, her wide wings shimmering with water, and splashed it down onto the flames below. Hiss! "Yeah!" cried the parrot, and she dove back into the river herself. One by one, the other eagles followed, diving into the river and carrying water to put out the flames. It took all day and into the night, but finally the last orange flame disappeared and the smoke vanished into the clouds over the mountains. The exhausted little green parrot slumped against her new eagle friend. "See," said the parrot, "I knew we were not small together." "You were right," said the eagle. "Together we were bigger than we ever imagined." The end.
Our call to worship today are words from Edwin Markham, an American poet who lived from 1852 to 1940. From 1923 to 1931, he was the Poet Laureate of Oregon. He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing of flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in. Our worship song for today is Round for Freedom. This is another artist from the General Assembly.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for its soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned.
Our service for today will be done by two speakers. Our speakers are Kimela Ledbetter and Mary McMahon. Our delegates to the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly 2021. We have designed this service to give you a feel of the experience of being at the General Assembly. They will both present the information and experiences they had at the General Assembly. Join me in welcoming our very own Kimela Ledbetter as she shares from her perspective of what General Assembly was like. Kimela, welcome, and will you please tell us a little about yourself, but especially about your volunteerism at Pathways?
I'm a member of the Pathways board, and my first year on it, I served in the membership committee doing orientation, for new people interested in joining, and then the new member ceremonies. And currently I'm serving as the treasurer for Pathway and working with the finance committee. And when we open up again and are able to meet together in church, I hope to rejoin the choir, singing up front and cavorting around like I used to do in Common Ground every Sunday. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about my experience. This was the first GA assembly I ever attended. I've only heard about it before. And so first thing I wanted to know is, what is the UUA? Well, it was created in 1961 when the Universalist and the Unitarians joined together. And Pathways, as every UU congregation is autonomous, we set our own priorities, but we're also members of the UUA. And in fact, we support it with a pledge every year of around $4,000. And so what is the UUA's mission? Well, in fact, it's written there all fancy, but in fact, the UUA's mission is to support Pathways in fulfilling our mission of of building a spiritual community that changes life through acts of compassion, service, love, and justice. So how does the UUA do that? What do they do for us? Well, they provide religious education curricula that we've used, like Soul Matters. They have benefit plans for church employees, including healthcare. They actually can provide grants to congregations to buy a church home or renovate. This year, they're even looking at providing grants to churches to upgrade technical equipment to allow multi-platform services once people go back and congregations go back into their churches. Yes, they train ministers, but they also support all different church staff, administrators, directors of religious education, which we aspire to, musical directors, which I know I aspire to for us someday. And the UUA and it has some businesses like Beacon Press. You may have heard of them. They published White Fragility. Between the UUA Association and these other businesses, it's actually a $43 million entity. And they think they're going to have an over $2 million surplus in 2022. All right. So again, what is the UUA? Their mission. There's a president who's the chief executive and public spokesperson, and that person has to move to Boston for 6 years to serve. There's a moderator who's the chief governance officer, and the moderator presides at the General Assembly and the Board of Trustee meetings and executive committee meetings. And then there's this Board of Trustees, which is 10 adults who are elected at large from all the 1,000 plus UU congregations across the country at General Assembly. There are also 2 youth trustees appointed to the board. And that president, our current president, Susan Gray, is a member, but she doesn't vote on the Board of Trustees. Then there's a whole lot of volunteer committees and paid staff, all of whose mission is to support pathways in carrying out our mission of building that amazing spiritual community. And if you, the organizational chart is actually not UUA at the top, but it is the congregations at the top. Then in the middle are regions. As you can see, all those 1,000 plus congregations are grouped in 5 regions, and there's Texas, we're in the southern region. And these regional groups, their mission, Southern Region's mission, is to support us, pathways, in carrying out our mission. And they also are, UUA and the regions are helping to spread UUA values out in the world, in the country and in the world. And at the bottom of the organizational chart is the UUA. And the highest authority within the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, the highest authority is the General Assembly. And every one of those 1,000 plus congregations can send 2 delegates who will vote at this General Assembly. All right, so next slide. What was the theme for 2021? Circle round for justice, healing, and courage. That sounds great. And when the board asked for members, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know what? I'll take off work. I'll use vacation time. That's gonna be a fantastic time. Worship and joy and learning. That's gonna be a party, and I'm ready for it. So I show up on the first day because, you know, I'm busy. I'm juggling a demanding job. Yeah, I'm on the board. I'm the treasurer, and I have my dog Melody, and I have to make her happy. And so I don't have any time for looking at the literature in advance. I'm gonna go. It's gonna be great. And I show up at Mary Mac's house because we decided to watch it together. I'm in my shorts. I got my flip flops. I got my drinks, my fancy sparkling water, and we're gonna have fun. Well, here's the definition of General Assembly from the website. General Assembly is the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists where we conduct the business of the association, explore the theological underpinnings of our faith, and lean fully in to our mission and principles. Again, advancing UU values in the world. We are making policy for UU through this General Assembly. Interesting, but that's no party. And yeah, there was some worship, including amazing music every day. Like the first song that we showed you, that is the choral group that performed at one of the worship services. And the second song, Circle Round, that individual, they didn't actually perform in one of the worship services, but that song was used in an amazing way through one of the worship services, threaded through, and I wanted to share that with you. And you know, I find joy in the music of Common Ground. And there was some learning, actually lots of learning. There was talks that we had, Mary and I attended together and separately, and workshops on demand. And there's still a ton of them that I'm trying to go through and finish up. And I'm curious about this UU business and how we can get our ideas across in the world. So yes, that was great. And there were some opportunities for connection, even though it was virtual, and even for a social media turtle like I am. But as I said, this was not a party. It was business, including what mistakes has UUA made? And how can the UUA improve, and how can UU as a religious faith improve? And we worked on this for hours every day of the assembly. Mary and I voted on UU bylaws amendments, candidates for the board of trustees, some committees, a commission, a financial advisor. And we voted on many more things that Mary's going to go over with you. We applauded as awards were given for distinguished service to the cause of Unitarian Universalism and several other awards. We listened. We did a lot of listening. And then I asked Mary Mack a whole bunch of questions to help me figure out what's going on. And I listened to her explanation and I wrote lots of notes. And the experience was energizing and invigorating and enlightening and painful and sorrowful. There were things to grieve over. And there was a lot of attention and discussion of systemic cultural disempowerment of all groups, white supremacy and all other forms of oppression. And there was examination, self-examination of the UU and self-examination, for ourselves. And as a white person, a middle-class person, a heterosexual person, there was a lot of self-examination for me. It was an really overwhelming experience. When it was all done, after 5 days, Sunday afternoon, I leave Mary's house, I go home, I take a nap, and I wake up and I think, what was that? What happened? What did I just take part in? Whoa, where was my party? And I wasn't too sure for a while what I'd been in and what I felt about it and whether I actually liked it and what is this UU business after all. And but in the process of preparing for this talk and looking over my notes and talking with Mary again, I realized it was an amazing experience, and I'm grateful to attend it and to share. And there was so much there. We can't even tell you all about it in this service. But I'm back to being reinvigorated and ready to move forward and lean in as best my imperfect self can to our mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimela. And now I'd like to introduce our second delegate, Mary Mack. Mary, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a lot about or a little, about all your volunteering that you do here at Pathways? Unmute your mic.
There we go.
Right there. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm not used to using my iPad and my computer quit working on me. So here we are. Okay. I found a UUA exciting. Oh, excuse me. Let me go back and explain who I am. I've been at Pathways about the same length of time. I started at Pathways a long time ago, and I came back in 17. And I am the lead on the care team right now, and I work with the Reconciliation Council. I am the one who, well, it's not one now, we've finally gotten a team. So I'm on the team for getting speakers for our Common Ground service, and would love to have any of you that have ideas and to get in touch with me and let us know who you'd like to hear from on Sunday morning. I am also in 2 anonymous groups, and I want to be not anonymous this morning because I want to encourage you to come to them if you'd like. And we call them 712. That's 7 principles and the 12 steps. So if you have an addiction issue and you'd like to join others in recovery, we have that available on Monday nights. And we just changed our 712 meeting for friends and family to Tuesday night. So if you either are dealing with addiction or if you have a family member or friend that is, we have some help available, a very UU version of help available. And the other thing I have is since 2018, I have been our representative to the North Texas UU. And UU Council. It's INTUC. We call it INTUC because it's a little simpler. There are 12 churches involved, and we have money to give in grants to churches, and we have education that we provide. And next week, you'll get to hear all about it because the executive director of INTUC will be speaking to us. And I think that's about all. Now let's go to the GA. I found General Assembly really exciting. I wasn't expecting a party because I'd been before. So I saw it from a really different perspective. And what I saw were how many options we had. They had 39 live webinars that ranged from an hour and a half each. 3 or 4 were scheduled at each time slot. So we had a lot of choosing to do, and that was difficult. And then I was pleased to find out that all of those live webinars became on-demand workshops after they had been live. And so you add the 39 live ones to the 70 that were already on demand. And there are over 100 workshops that are available to people who signed up for GA. We go to our GA portal and we can see any of those. And I don't think they're going to take them down until September. So that's really been good for me to be able to go back and see all the things that UUs are doing. And a lot of it is social justice work that we don't have to reinvent because other people have already been doing it. Next thing I want to talk to you about is a UUSC, Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. Has been around since 1940. It began with Unitarians helping people in Europe get out of that war-torn area that was so dangerous in World War II. And it is not a part of the UUA. It is an affiliate, an ally of the UUA. And that way, they are able to be a non-sectarian 501c3 corporation, and they provide grants and help to people outside of our congregation. And that's our outreach in social justice area. Their focus is on working with the people who are most in need. Not big organizations, but they go to the grassroots level and see who could use their support, their professional support, their volunteering type support, or their financial support. And they respond to humanitarian crises and climate, conflict, economic hardship. And they do it, eye to eye with the most marginalized people. And UU provide some support to them, and we can also donate to them. They also provide help to UU churches. And so we are going to have the UUSC come and talk to us next month. Reverend Laura Randall from UUSC will be coming and talking to us all about what UUSC does, because we can't possibly cover it this morning. Now, within the UUA, we have a new umbrella group. Next slide. Our Side with Love is now all the justice work inside the UUA comes under that umbrella. And they are now coordinating what had been a lot of committees that did not coordinate well. So now we are going to have political education, spiritual sustenance, skills-based training, mobilization for action, education for our organizing, all coming under one umbrella, which should make it work a lot better. And here's a video that will explain that to you.
In the midst of a global pandemic, a spiraling climate crisis, escalated threats to our democracy, nationwide uprisings demanding racial justice, what does it look like to side with love?
It looks like fighting voter suppression, reaching out to over 3 million voters, and mobilizing a historic number of people to turn out in the state and national elections.
It looks like showing up in solidarity with Indigenous water protectors resisting the disastrous Line 3 pipeline.
It looks like welcoming protesters, into your congregation sanctuary when they need a safe place to gather out of the way of state-sanctioned violence.
It looks like advocating for critical national legislation like the Equality Act, the BREATHE Act, and the For the People Act.
It looks like testifying in front of your city council to support moving money to community safety, security, and stability instead of increasing big police budgets.
It looks like serving as an election defender to ensure that every eligible voter can access the ballot freely, fairly, and without intimidation.
As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in the democratic process. We believe in our radical interdependence with one another and the earth. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. These values aren't just ideas. They compel us to side with love by joining forces to build a world in which all people are free and thriving. Our faith calls us to solidarity, to courage, to resistance, to action. All forms of oppression are interlinked, just as all our struggles for liberation are bound up together. Whether we are organizing for a stronger democracy, combating criminalization and white supremacy, advocating for the rights of LGBTQ people, or working to get back into right relationship with the earth, we are answering the mandate of our faith to side with love.
Side with Love is the umbrella for all of our justice-focused trainings and campaigns and programs. We are the outward-facing justice ministries of the Unitarian Universalist Association. While we focus on any number of different specific issues through our programs and campaigns, we also fundamentally understand that all of these struggles are deeply interconnected and interwoven and intersecting.
At its most basic level, Side with Love brings Unitarian Universalists into partnership with each other and with broader movements for justice.
Side with Love is the hub of collective action, learning, and reflection for thousands of Unitarian Universalists in hundreds of congregations across the country.
And the UUA's organizing strategy team, the staff who share responsibility for Side with Love, are working to bring Unitarian Universalists ways to ground, to grow, and to act together.
Side with Love offers political education to develop a deeper understanding of the most critical justice issues impacting our communities. Side with Love also provides ongoing spiritual sustenance as a way of nourishing the people as we struggle and organize for the long haul.
UUs and their congregations are always looking for ways to build their collective power, to deepen their partnerships with frontline organizations, to sharpen their leadership and organizing skills. Side with Love's organizing strategy team creates a wide range of trainings and leadership development opportunities to equip our people to grow their skills so we can show up boldly, courageously, and effectively whenever and however love calls us to respond.
We like to say that love is a practice, not a theory. Side with Love uses a distributed model that invites Unitarian Universalists to take meaningful and strategic action together in service of our values. Whether it's a national phone bank to mobilize voters in Georgia during the runoff elections, or a coordinated congregational letter writing campaign in support of the BREATHE Act, or bringing national muscle to local battles to divest from the police and invest in community safety in Phoenix, Side with Love and our various intersecting campaigns supports UUs in acting for justice and liberation on the local and national levels. Side with Love is so proud to support thousands of Unitarian Universalists across the country every year through our campaigns and our trainings and our programs. And we need your help to make that work.
The next thing we're going to talk about is the Commission on Social Witness. That's the way that those things we talk about at GA and we vote on as saying, yes, these are in our heart and we want them to be a part of what UUA says. The commission reaches out to the churches, works with churches, and then helps coordinate all of these things that come up. So one thing they do is they work with member congregations in 4 years of study on what are called congregational study and action issues. Those result in the statements of conscience that we see later on. So this is kind of a behind the scenes way we're doing social justice work inside our congregation. Next slide. Those are the two things that come up in GA that we vote on: our statement of conscience and whether we approve of it, and actions of immediate witness. And we chose 3 out of the 4 that were offered to us this year. Next slide. We adopted these 3 AIWs, and the one in this, you see if this is not, anyway, this is our statement of conscience. I'm one ahead of myself. Sorry about that. And our statements of conscience is a really long document. So what I did was I gave you the 3 things that I think describe it best. And that is that we're going to engage in the movement. We're going to heal the evil of racism. We're going to carry forth those healing actions in what we call widening the circle of concern, which is a program that the UUA was encouraged to start by the Commission on Social Witness. And we're going to build relationship across boundaries of privilege and oppression. So the next thing we did was we did our actions of immediate witness. And 3 of those were approved. The top one is kind of self-explanatory. We're going to defend LGBTQIA rights. And there's a lot of work to be done there. The second one is called COVID-19 pandemic. But really what they talk about once you get into it is how we can create a healthcare system that is accessible, comprehensive, equitable, and culturally acceptable. And they cite the World Health Organization that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of disease or infirmity. So it's a very healthcare for all measure. And the third one is up because of what's been happening since the election, and that's to stop voter suppression and partner for voting rights. And they're doing a lot of work in that already, even though it's just been approved. Okay, the Commission on Social Witness is going to get together in the fall. And what they do there is they talk about what we approved at General Assembly and find ways to make it part of the things the UUA is doing in the next year. And they connect with any of us that want to go and join in that so that they can learn more from the congregations and implement what we would like to have. This next one is called a responsive resolution. We also voted on those. They're a little different. They don't come to us through the Commission on Social Witness. They come directly out of our work in GA, and they come up during GA. These are concerns that arise during a General Assembly and are a response to an immediate issue. The first one came up because they found out that we were not voting on the 8th principle this time. And so they put together a responsive resolution to show that the majority of people at General Assembly approved of anti-racism and our principles, which is what the 8th principle is. The second one came up because of young people looking through budgets and investments that the UUA has. And they thought that we had a very socially responsible investment portfolio until they looked at it. And then they decided that we were investing in companies that had pipelines going through areas that we were fighting against, and banking that was doing that, that were supporting companies that we were working against. And so the young people got together and made a responsive resolution asking that the UUA do a better job of considering its investments. And that was really good to see. That doesn't carry the weight of the General Assembly or the weight of the Commission on Social Witness, but it is saying this happened in GA and the majority of people at GA want something done about it. Now, the next slide is on our Article 2 Study Commission. And this is a big deal. Our association is required to review and update our bylaws on a regular basis. Article 2 has not been evaluated and updated since 1987. And so right now we're in the middle of a review, and Article 2 is the heart of our bylaws. This includes our sources and our principles. And the UUA board has charged the Article 2 Commission to root their work in love and use that as a guiding principle in its work. They want to review all sections of Article 2, and they want it revised, replaced, or restructured as needed. They want it to be an inviting document to read rather than something that's very dry. And so they've encouraged them to look at it differently. Now, next slide. This is one of the things that's being considered by the Article 2 Study Commission. We, the member congregations of the UU Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. That has been in the works for 3 years. It will come to the first vote in 2022, and the work of the Article 2 Study Commission will be completed in 2023. And they want all of the member churches to have a voice in the changes that are made to that very important part of our bylaws. So we need to be looking at what they're doing and see whether we agree with it or whether we have other ideas. And the next slide was something I really loved about GA this year. We got to listen to Stacey Abrams as one of our WARE lecturers. And she and Desmond Meade were wonderful. And now I find out that we could enjoy it while we were there, and you can enjoy it in September because they're going to open it up so that we can present it for Common Ground. And so as soon as that's available, we'll put it on our schedule for Common Ground. Anyway, thank you for sending me as one of your delegates to GA. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your experience with us and volunteering to do this on behalf of Pathways. We really appreciate this. Our closing song for today is Breaths. This is also a song that was featured at General Assembly.
Bum 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 bum
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire
And now our chalice extinguishing, Struggle and Joy by Vance Bass. And welcome Mary back to read our chalice extinguishing.
I think that was Kimela.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kimela. I had it wrong in my script. Go ahead, Kimela.
So Struggle and Joy by Vance Bass. Every day brings struggle. Every day brings joy. Every day brings us the opportunity to ease the struggle of another, to be the joy in another's life. May this flame remind us to carry our light to each other and to the world.
Thank you.
Oh, and do I say, blessed be and go in peace?
No, not yet.
Oh, no, that's our benediction.
And our benediction up next, I think.
Yeah.
We hope that each of you on your individual path to the joys and questions of life found some common ground here with your fellow travelers today. And now, here's Mary to read our benediction.
For friendship, may you be blessed with good friends.
Sorry.
May you learn to be a good friend to yourself. May you be able to journey to that place in your soul where there is great love, warmth, feeling, and forgiveness. May this change you.
Thank you. I want to thank Mary and Kimela for their experience, for sharing their experience of General Assembly with us. And I want to thank everyone for listening and allowing a connection to be made. Now let's unmute and continue the conversation. Our classes will start at 11:30.